welcome. We're so excited to be here today to reach out to you. I'm S, which is for Sheila.
And I'm Kay, which is for Kristen.
We're coming to you today in the wake of May. We're now in Mental Health Awareness Month, and we wanted to do a broadcast to bring you some hope, some encouragement to get through these difficult times through the coronavirus pandemic. This is something that's well needed because mental health is definitely an area of life that a lot of people neglect. And so Kristen's just going to give you a small introduction about mental health.
I am. Just joking. Okay, so COVID, quarantine, and the mental health crisis. In America, y'all know we already have an issue with the healthcare system. And I believe that this pandemic has further amplified the issues that we already have in our society. But mental health is a problem that creeps upon us all, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. At some point during your life, whether it be childhood, young adult life, midlife crisis, elderly, you will have to go through some sort of mental health in the form of schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, anxiety, depression. It's a plethora of things, but I know that in society, mental health, the disorders and illnesses have become a stigma.
Right.
It's looked down upon,
Right.
and it's not talked about. And so with this quarantine, with us being quarantined, although it is May and we are now coming out of quarantine because a lot of governors have now relaxed their stay-at-home orders and said, okay, you're good to go out. But I think we still need to discuss what has occurred the past 2.5 months that we have been at home, because studies show that isolation and being in quarantine do have an effect on your mental state. We don't talk about it a lot, but the prison system is not to lighten what people go through in prisons and not to degrade or downplay what occurs in the criminal justice system, but this time of quarantine has really shown how similar we are right now to having the isolation and the deprivation of just having your freedom and your liberty to do what you want to do. You really can't go anywhere. We were told to stay at home. If you're not at home, you should be either at the grocery store or at work, or at church.
Right.
It wasn't really much. And a lot of things, bowling alleys, shopping malls, restaurants were shut down. For this. The only place that I know that was open, which was a lot of confusion for a lot of people, was the alcohol stores. The
Right.
ABC stores were kept open. But other than that, a lot of the things that we would go to cope and to get our minds off of the wearies and the worries of life were shut down. And so with that, just want to talk about the mental health crisis. For one, it impacts all of us. And I really want to make that clear. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and it impacts all of us. I know with me working with children, I hear some kids say, well, that doesn't impact my family. But you'd be amazed at how the small things of mental health creep up in your attitudes, your dispositions, how you deal with things, how you walk through life.
Right. And that's so true. I think just the very fact of thinking about that you can get sick creates a spirit of almost fear. That's why they say it's so important to make sure the message that you're giving your kids about this isolation period, about the quarantine, about COVID-19 is important, because you don't want to instill that feeling of uncertainty and fear in your children. Just about your job, your daily life. Is this going to persist? Are we going to have to wear a mask forever? Am I going to ever be able to go back to the restaurant and sit down and enjoy my meal after church?
Yeah.
That is in the back of your mind, and it affects everything you do, because now when I think about that, that's a little fuffer. I mean, that creates fear, and it's not something that I want to think that it's going to happen long term, but it might.
Mm-hmm.
So that's doubt. That creates worry. If that's going to be that way, what's the hospital going to be like?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to be afraid to go to the hospital if, a loved one is there? If they have a heart attack, what that affects me.
Yeah.
It affects me in my job as a registered nurse. We go out to a lot of people's homes to visit them. They may be afraid. They may not want me there, but I'm coming to provide a service to them for the greater good for their health.
Yeah.
But because of this crisis, it does give you a long-term effect of fear.
And when two things that you said that I thought about with being a frontline worker, I know there was a few articles saying that some people had committed suicide because the pressure of one part of your mind is focused on the fact that you have to go to work and encounter all of this, but then because you are still human and you still have your own life, the other part of your mind is, have I exposed my kids? Have I exposed my spouse?
Right.
How are my bills doing? Is my stuff being paid for?
Right.
How's my life? Do I have groceries in my home? Because there was a time when you went into the store and you couldn't find anything.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so I'm spending all my day working, and then when I get off, I'm going to the store. There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
That's a lot to have
Right.
to deal with.
Right.
And then on the other part, I was on Instagram and happened to see a video. I can't remember who posted this video. I wish I did so I could shout him out. But saw a video and talked about how compartmentalizing trauma doesn't help. And so when things happen, when you have the thoughts of, well, can I go, see family members? Can I go back to the restaurants? Yeah, it may be a split thought, but unless you fully address it and process it and work through it, if you just say, I wonder, and then you put it in the back of your mind, okay, I'll deal with it later on, or I'll deal with it when we get there. Compartmentalizing it does not help your mental state. Because we do it in little ways, but it keeps building up. And you may not explode with it, but it has now shifted how your mental capacity is, or the wiring of your brain has been affected in some kind of way.
Right. It's so important. I mean, with the thoughts that we have, that is really what's going to control our behaviors and our actions. So thinking on those things over and over, not just the same thing, but little things that create that inner instability will eventually cause you to have a form of mental illness. Definitely anxiety, the constant of worrying, that will cause you cause yourself to have a mental illness. Not that you can't come out of these things, but you want to do your part to be mentally fit and healthy.
Yeah. And so with, what we do on this show, Walking Through the Fire, with the anxiety and the thoughts that come to your mind, we just want to encourage, number one, to make sure you have meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
So that you're able to, like I said, the isolation is what really is making it hard for people. Just that thing of not being able to go out and do stuff is taking a toll. So make sure that you keep in touch with friends and calling family members and whoever you talk to, that you're still staying in touch with them. And then also, when you have those thoughts of anxiety or worry or fear, that you are addressing them. Right. That you're processing, that you're working through it, that you are, if you have a thought of, well, oh my gosh, what if my parent dies, because they're elderly, that you're addressing the what if, and you're working through this, okay, well, what if they do die? And what's going to happen? And if they don't die, what's going to, so that you're laying all the thoughts on the table and coming to a conclusion, and then also incorporating God into that equation. So what if something does happen, but I'm still good because I'm with somebody, I'm with God who I know has my best interest at heart, and that I'm going to be okay, But like she said, it's not just anxiety, it's a lot of things, it's depression, but mental illness, regardless of what the disorder or the symptoms you may have, you just can't spend this time and not addressing it.
I think you said something about bringing God into the picture, and I think that's so true. It's about what we can't control. Some things we can control, some things we can't. And I think veering in, bring God into the piece about what you can't control. He's in control. But the things that you can control, focus on self-care. Focus on what you can do to make your present situation as good as possible.
That's good. That's good because as humans, we want to be in control.
Mm-hmm.
And really, what this time of quarantine has done is just stripped away
Yeah.
really all the control that you thought you had.
Right.
It really has just said, basically, it's put you in a place of, honestly, submission.
Right.
You know, humility.
Yeah.
And it's allowed me to have introspection on my life. But it brings you back to the foundations and the core of who we were called to be as humans.
Yeah.
You know, so without the busyness of life and just the things that we do, we now see with having everything shut down, really what we have been doing that's been productive.
Right.
We've seen what we can do without. So the things that I'm still doing that I'm able to do, those are productive. But the things that I was doing to be busy, the times we went to lunch at Famous Toastery every day at 12. I didn't need that, but I could, so I did, and now I can. But that really just submitting and knowing that we have choices now. We have a choice.
Yeah.
Stay-at-home orders have been put in place. Like I said, they now have been released. But when you had a choice to go out, but you were never in control.
No.
And so knowing that with that, really God is in control of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And seeking Him for direction on, okay, God, you've allowed this to happen.
Right.
We're in quarantine. I done got laid off from my job. Some jobs won't even reopen
Right.
after this is over.
Mm-hmm.
Some jobs have not
Yeah.
just we've closed for the time period. No, we've closed indefinitely. There is
Right.
no coming back from this.
Mm-hmm.
And then thinking, like I said, thinking about, well, how am I going to pay bills and how do I do that? I'm thinking about college and school. How am I going back to campus? Because with quarantine, with COVID, now universities are saying, yeah, we're just going to do online,
Right.
for a period of time because we can't risk having more lives be taken just for some money, or whatever. So knowing that God is in control and during this time, seeking Him like, hey God, I'm at my lowest.
Yeah.
I'm submitted. I have no other option but to look to you.
And that's right where He wants you to be. And that's with all of our lives. When you find yourself in that situation, just know that that's where He wants you to be, because He's God, and He's already got that under control. He already has a plan for you. This is not a surprise to Him. He wasn't fumbled by COVID-19. He's not fumbled by jobs closing. He's the source of all things. So the same way that He provided a job before, He's able to provide those resources through another channel.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely focus on self-care, governing the things that you think about, the things that you're seeing. I think that's a big thing. When this first started happening, everybody was watching the news, watching the briefings, just whatever information we could gather, trying to make some type of sense out of what's going on. How is this going to affect me? And I think at this point, we've had enough opportunity at home to really see that after a while you have to scale back the TV, scale back the worry, scale back everything and get into a quiet place and self-reflect. Like we said, God is in control. What can I do? Maybe I can work on myself, my attitude, my behaviors, my appetite, my exercising. I can do physical fitness. Mm-hmm. That's always a great thing to try to do. It relieves physical and mental stress. So when you think about this whole thing, it's really been beneficial for some people. I know in some aspects people have died and people have gotten really sick, and our hearts go out to them. But on the other hand, it has been a time of self-reflection and a time to really scale back and look at your life and take this opportunity to make some positive steps for your present and for your future.
while she was talking, I was trying to find the stat. I know you said earlier 1 in 5 people.
Will deal with mental illness sometime in their life.
Okay. Now I had seen a stat, but I can't find it anymore. I think it said maybe 1 in 2 people during this crisis
During the crisis, okay.
will experience a mental health disorder, illness, or disruption. But I can't find it, so I'll have to keep looking for it.
Okay.
But definitely agree with the fact of you have to find ways to cope. I know yesterday I posted on my Instagram that I was struggling with the mental health, and so for yesterday I shot around the basketball. Just got a basketball and just did some shoots, because that's a way for me to release that energy and to get that stress out. Some days it's running, some days it's walking, but you have to do something. Some days it's reading a book. Some days it's going on my computer and pulling up Zillow and looking at nice houses. Some days it's Starbucks. But you have to have ways to decompress and to release the pent-up tension and aggression that you feel. Like I said, with being in the house and just not being able to get from around people, you really can't find ways to release, So just do whatever you possibly can during this time. I want you to speak on your time. Excuse me. I want you to speak on your time about the unemployment and how now we weren't going through, well, it was a national crisis. The economy had failed, but we weren't in isolation. It wasn't like this. So not even trying to compare. It was not like this. But just how did you cope with not having stable income anymore and having children?
Right. Well, definitely. There was a time period when I lost my job. My husband lost his job about a month later, and this was around 2007, I want to say, when the housing crisis, just the bottom fell out of it, and people began to lose their jobs in large numbers like they have now. It was a critical time because my son was about to enter, I think he was in the 12th grade, and he was about to start figuring out what school he's going to go to for college. And that's when the rubber kind of met the road that we don't have a job. If we don't get a job, how are we going to maintain what we need to do at home? And how are we going to help him go to school and get through college? So there was a lot of uncertainty. We had you at home. I want to say you might have been in about the 7th grade or so. So you were involved in activities and doing things, and you always needed something for that. So it was a lot of uncertainty. It was a lot of fear of the unknown, because as parents you're supposed to provide. But how can you provide when there's no job? There's no income coming in. We eventually got unemployment, and then we used that, but it was never enough. So we realized very quickly that we were not in control and that God was trying to do something. We certainly did not know how we were going to make it. Like now, a lot of people don't know how they're going to make it. But I think what we kept doing is we kept searching. We didn't stop putting in applications. I put in applications for jobs that I knew I probably wasn't going to accept. but at that point, it almost became a desperation. Because we need a job. We need money. We've got bills. And it got to the point it was so bad that we ended up really realizing we can't continue to pay our mortgage, pay all of our bills with unemployment, because we began to run out of our savings money as well. So what we began to do is think of long-term goals. See, before it was just short-term. How are we going to make it? Then we began to look at long-term. If we lose our house, we destroy our credit. That means we can't stay in the house. We need forever until everything runs out. We need to begin looking now. And that eventually shifted us to come to South Carolina, where the economy was a lot cheaper, when we could live with less money. And that worked out for a time period until God began to open other doors. It was a part of God's plan, because God really began to open the doors for so many things when we came here to South Carolina, and really showed us that He was with us. And I think in saying that, it's just about you realizing where you are in God, because you feel like God's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, He's left the building, and He's deserted us.
Mm-hmm.
We're on our own to figure this out, and in the end of figuring out, we figured God's at the end of this laughing, saying, all along all you had to do was trust me.
Mm-hmm.
Because He really worked it out in the end. And how He ended up working it out is Tristan got a full scholarship to go to school, to go to college. He ended up getting a job because he was a part of the Honor Society, the Chancellor's program. They gave him a job so that can help him be self-sufficient in his personal needs, getting his hair cut, getting gas for his car. I mean, God was just phenomenal. When you went to your school, God opened the door for you to go to the special school you went to, AAST.
I'm not gonna talk about it.
Okay, so God.
It's a really great school though. But.
Yeah, God opened the door for her to go to a school that she really adapted well to. We were very concerned about her not adapting. South Carolina's a lot different from North Carolina environment that we came from, so we were very concerned about her mental health, finding friends at her age. I mean, you've got a connection with Charlotte. You've been there all your life, and then you leave there in the 7th grade. Now it's totally different and all new people, and you've got to reconnect. So, and then God connected us to a great church. You began to grow there and get connected there, and we did too. And God just began to unveil things and open doors, and it ended up working out. But the key was us really relinquishing control, and every day searching. Okay, if this is not going to work, what's going to work? We can't rent a house because the house is too much. Let's see if we can get an apartment. Okay, God opened the door for this apartment to come open. It has enough bedrooms. Let's put our furniture in storage. Let's move into this small apartment. And we just began to save money when we finally got jobs. And then God just opened the doors for us.
I really want to focus on the part where when you said, where's God? Because I think that's a question that's going through people's head.
Right.
Is where is God? We're literally in the midst of a crisis, and everything is falling apart.
Yeah, well, it appears to be that way. It definitely looked that way in my situation, but God was standing there at the whole time He was there, looking and saying, why are you not trusting me? Because, and the reason why I say that is because every time, like I said, we started searching, the doors were opening. It may not be the doors that we wanted, but the doors were opening. When we had to leave the house, that's a door closing. That was devastating, and you feel like, how could I lose my house? How could God let this happen? But God had a plan because He needed to move us where He needed us to be. So like I said, it was, you're saying it in your heart and your mind because you don't see God doing things the way you want them done. But all along, He's working. He's already opened the doors. He's already worked it out. And what you just need to do is just follow in His footsteps.
Yeah.
You just need to keep searching. It's your job to keep searching. Okay, God, order my footsteps. Well, He can't order your footsteps if you're not stepping. You got to be moving. And so that's what we did. We just kept going, and you wanted to go to a certain school, and we knew we needed to get into that neighborhood, and there was nothing to rent. Everybody wanted to get to that area, I guess, and I said, well, it's just not doable. There's nothing open. And lo and behold, right around the corner from Grandma, we drove into this area. We was like, oh, this is nice. And there was an apartment complex there. Went in there and said, oh, do you have any apartments? They said, sure. We told them, oh, you're from here? And we're like, no, we're retired military. You're retired military? Oh, there's no application fee. There's no security deposit. And I was like, wow. Look at God.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say to anybody in this crisis, he's right there. Pray like you've never prayed before. Seek him like you never sought him before. Cry out to him, because even through this, he will keep your mind. As long as you keep your mind stayed on him, he's not going to let you lose it. You're not going to have a mental breakdown. I know it's a lot that you're dealing with, but if you keep your mind stayed on him and stay focused, God has a plan. He has good thoughts towards me. He wants me to prosper and be in good health, even as my soul prospers. He's trying to get me to where I need to be in him. And that's all it was about. It was about me, all of us growing in him. You flourished so much, during the move. It wasn't a good move. It wasn't a good circumstance. It didn't feel good.
Yeah.
But he meant good. Good came out of it. So just be encouraged.
I know you said it at the end, keep your mind stayed on him. That's imperative. We talked about other tips, but if I could offer a tip, what are you listening to? What are you watching? Who are you talking with?
Absolutely.
And ensuring that during this time, you're surrounding yourself with nothing but positivity. That you're reminding yourself of what God's word says. And if you don't know, like I don't know every scripture in the Bible, I'm not there yet. But at night, I just play the Bible on the Bible app, and it's playing through my head through the night, And so when I get in my car, I only listen to Christian rap, gospel music, I do secular every now and then. I love it, whatever, but it doesn't consume me. Because I know that what's in you comes out. And so I try to fill myself with things that are positive. I know that, like you said, your mind, you have to keep your mind right, keep your mind right, because attacks are going to come.
Yes.
Regardless. That's just, why would the enemy go good on us?
Right.
Why would he take it easy? He's not going to do that.
That's
so,
the job.
Yeah, the attacks are going to come, but you have to make sure that you're doing your part to be ready for when the attacks come. So don't be sitting around here filling your mind or in your body with junk.
Right.
And then, oh, I'm sick. Well, what did you think was going to happen? or part of the issue that we're having right now, which we didn't discuss, but I'm going to put a little tidbit right here. Part of the issue with this pandemic right now is that it's affecting us, our skin color, a lot more than other colors because we don't take care of ourselves.
That's right.
So before this pandemic even hit, we're eating whatever. We're not going to the doctor. We're not taking our medication. We're not taking vitamins. And so now that this virus has hit, we're dropping quicker than other races.
Absolutely.
Because we don't take care of ourselves.
Yes.
It's an attack.
It's an attack.
But as she was talking, just this came to my mind, 2 Corinthians 4:17 through 18, and I'm reading the ESV. But for this light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. It's like she said when I asked about, where's God? So yes, you don't see him. Yes, he's not standing right in front of you like a human being, but he's there, And when things are getting tough, just be reminded that we look not to what we can see. We're not looking to what, yes, evident. What we see is a virus. What we see is people are dying. What we see is people losing their jobs. What we see is a crisis. What we see is a mess. Really, it's really a big mess, and it looks hard, and it's difficult, and it feels rough, and I'm over this pandemic at this point. But we have to keep our minds and our thoughts stayed on what is not seen.
Yes.
So God said in His Word that He would cover us and He would keep us.
Yes.
That He would be with us at all times until the end of the world.
Yes.
That His Word would not return void. And so what He said to me before, it still got to stand now.
Yes. Absolutely.
Going through a crisis, but what He said 10 years ago still makes sense today, and it still stands.
Yes.
So, and it's light. It says for this light momentary affliction, it won't be this way always.
Oh no.
You know, I really wish that I could show you. And it's not about the monetary. It's not about the material. But I wish I could show you how God works so well and how He just how He really will give you back double for your trouble.
Yes. Yes.
You know, if you stay with God.
Mm.
If you stay with God, keep your mind on Him. That's my encouragement. That is my encouragement for COVID-19 is keep your mind stayed on God.
Yes.
You know, I'm not saying that we're perfect. We're going to get it right every day. But wake up every morning with the thought that I'm going to ensure that when I go throughout this day, I'm going to do what I can in my power to keep my mind stayed on God. Because like I said, everything else is out of our control. We don't have much say so in what the higher ups is doing. We don't have much say so in how these small business loans are going and who's getting them and who's being approved and who's not being approved. We don't have much say so if these CFOs and CEOs are closing down or staying open. We don't have much say so. But what we do have say so in is how we conduct ourselves. Yeah. What you are doing. What are you feeding your spirit? What are you feeding your body? When you're going out in public now that things are reopening, are you being careful? Because you have no reason, this is my honest opinion, you have no reason to worry about getting sick. Oh, what if I get sick if you're sitting here not wearing a mask and not wearing gloves?
Right.
But you going everywhere. What? No. You have lost your right to be concerned when you know. So, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. That's good. When you were talking about keeping your mind stayed on Him, and talking about the house, I think the blessing and everything that we went through with that during that time and the transition was just the fact that God's peace, His joy, His faithfulness, His meekness, His humbleness was seen through us, and that's what we sought after. We were seeking God's will for us because we began to just comb through the Word, and we just didn't understand. You said you had a plan. We want your will for us. And the things that God gave us, we got the peace. We had the peace walking through. We had the joy walking through. We had God's humbleness. I mean, because nothing can humble you worse than God to strip you from everything. Strip everything from you. There's no choice but to be humble. And those things are more precious and valuable to us than anything else material that God gave us. Because now I know without a shadow of a doubt that God is with me. Because it didn't kill me. It didn't overtake me.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to let them know?
No. I hope you've been informed. I hope you have been encouraged that through it all, God is still there. He's never left, and He wants you to have peace. He does not want you to have discouragement in your life. Discouragement will come, but deal with the discouragement. He doesn't want you to have a spirit of fear. Fear will come because that's natural, but don't receive it. You don't have to embrace fear. Take God at His word. Care for yourself. Care for your loved ones. And show yourself friendly. If you're feeling lonely, reach out to someone. Whatever you're lacking in your life, do that for somebody else's life. Because maybe they're feeling lonely too. There's fulfillment in that, because that's you really operating in your purpose. You know, a lot of times people don't realize that when we're doing for others out of our sacrifice, that's God's purpose and will for us. That's how He wants to use us in this earth. and you get fulfillment out that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, guys, that's all for this week. After this is over, we have listed some resources for you to check out. If you are in need, reach out to somebody. You know, we're praying for you guys, but reach out to the hotlines that are available to your loved ones, to family, to friends, to your pastor, whoever you speak with. Reach out to them and share with others how you're feeling. I hope you enjoy this Sunday, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
All right.